Live from New York.
Oscar nominee J.K. Simmons.
You were in a movie with J.K. Simmons
Yes,
from
I
Whiplash?
was. Yes. Taylor Rooks and I were the opening scenes of the movie. Watch it. It's on an airplane. It really, COVID kind of hurt its theatrical release.
True story.
But we should be talking about Bru's movie.
Nick's daughter, what'd you do, FaceTime you?
She FaceTimed me. She's like, look at what, she's with my mom. Look at the movie we're watching on Netflix. Pauses it. Guess who we see? That guy.
Real acting chops.
Hashtag
reality's high. Hashtag reality high.
And it's a real stretch. He's playing a sports reporter.
See, Wilds
Why
can't
you
let
sit down
You
there?
can't let me get my shine.
No.
I had
can't.
to dig deep into my acting chops to bring that
What
the
was
life
your
to that
character's name?
It didn't come up. It didn't come up. But the guy I acted across was in Straight Outta Compton.
There's a decent
So that's like a
chance your
real
character,
actor.
it says Chris Broussard as himself.
Bro,
I made it.
I
I made it
understand
pop.
this is
I made it pop.
unchristian. That would have been a great time to lie. Just be like, oh, his name was Marcus.
Walter Jones.
Yeah, whatever. Just something. Just something, because he's trying to undercut.
We've got lots of news.
Yeah, we do.
We're starting with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Jerry Dulock reporting that Rodgers at the Steelers facility today, a sign that a deal with the team could be on the way. Brew, your reaction to this partnership getting closer to becoming official?
Well, look, I think this is the only play for Aaron Rodgers at this point, right? If Minnesota's out and it's the Giants or the Steelers, obviously you want to go to Pittsburgh. Nick had a great point the other day, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, about
every day.
If Rodgers is dragging this out,
Yep.
I don't like that, and he's trying to take control of the situation. That would show maybe, he's trying to take control of the locker room or the team again. But if he signs today or within the next few days and he's in, I don't know if he'll go to OTAs or not, but he's all in. I think it remains Tomlin's firmly in control of that locker room. Cam Hayward, the other veterans. I think that's a good sign. Now, I'm not predicting that they will get to the Super Bowl. I will say this. The Steelers had the eighth best scoring defense in the league last year. The last time Rodgers had a scoring defense that strong, guess what happened? He won the Super Bowl. I mean, that was years ago in 2010, but still, he's only had three other teams in the top 10, three other defenses in the top 10 scoring in his career. Got to two NFC championships. One time, other time made the playoffs. So, look, I don't think they go much further than they went last year, if at all. But I think signing Rodgers is their best chance to win their first playoff game since 2016. So I think it'd be good for both parties. If Rodgers is serious, not trying to go in there and set the culture, just go in there and play, be the quarterback, I think it could be good.
So I'll address how I think this could work in a moment. First, I want to be very clear, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to end up a Steeler. I do not think he's going to end up a Steeler in March. And so the idea, I do not think he is signing today. I don't think he's signing over the weekend. I don't think he's signing next week. And so my feeling of Rodgers slow playing this, now Florio wrote today that might be about leverage for money. I think Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career values power more than a few extra $1 million. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know how wrong I'll be because I feel like he has already slow played this quite a bit. But I do not view this as, Aaron Rodgers going to sign today. I think it is Aaron Rodgers making sure the Steelers do not give him a hard deadline, going in, talking with Tomlin. I'm interested. I got to figure out, make sure I really want to play and all of that and create more runway. So this does not change my opinion of that at all. I'm on TV every day. If I'm wrong, I'll have to wear it. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. As far as how good they will be, I understand Brew's point about he hasn't had a lot of great defenses in his career, and Brew agrees with me on this, I'm sure, he is not nearly the player he was the few times he had the great defenses. I would look at Pittsburgh as still clearly the third best team in their division. And so that I know last year they were the second, but I think Cincinnati could stabilize enough to where they're above them. I would look at Pittsburgh as a team that, just like I would look at them if they signed Russell Wilson, a team that on the low end is going to win 7, on the high end is going to win 10, and is going to be a substantial road underdog in round 1. So I don't think he is 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers is a needle mover at this point in his career. I don't think he is worth the time and effort. I understand the Steelers appear to be desperate. I do get that.
Do you think at this point he's their best option? You think there's another better option out there?
I think of the veterans out there, the last 3 years, he has identical numbers, nearly identical numbers to Russell Wilson. The last 3 years, he has worse numbers than Kirk Cousins. If I were the Pittsburgh Steelers and I didn't want to draft a quarterback and I wanted to go the veteran route, I would rather simply call up Atlanta and give them a 6th-round pick for Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Over
they could.
Rodgers?
Yes.
Why?
I think Cousins has been better. Cousins has been the better player.
He was terrible last year, and I get it, the Achilles, but same thing for Rodgers.
I know, but I'd still view Achilles as a 2-year injury, so I do think that Aaron Rodgers could come back stronger. I just think Kirk Cousins gives you no drama.
And he's a lot younger.
He's
a lot younger. I would think that if it works, you're more likely to have a longer runway with him. I just think there's a lot of, and I do think that Kirk Cousins, Rodgers last year in Green Bay and was the year Cousins won 13 games with the Vikings, was way better than Rodgers that year. Kirk Cousins 2 years ago, we don't know what Rodgers would have popped his Achilles immediately. Cousins was having an awesome statistical year that year and then blew his Achilles. And last year, to me, I think Rodgers had the slightly better year as far as a statistics standpoint, and Cousins had the way better year from a leadership teammate, not causing nonsense.
He's definitely a better team.
Right, and at this point, I think that really matters.
Yeah.
And so I just, and if I don't want Cousins, I just don't view Rodgers as an upgrade over Russell Wilson at this point. So I just, you know what I mean? I'm not
I think they probably go about the same, take the team as far.
Yes.
But Rodgers, theoretically, and maybe we're just caught up in him being the future Hall of Famer and all-time great, theoretically, like, he could take you deeper into the playoffs. Like, Russ, you just don't see him putting the team on his back. Rodgers, just because of who he's been, I know he hadn't done it recently, but you can make yourself think, you know what? If it pops, it pops.
So are you with me in that I believe in that, kind of, but just because of the Achilles. Just because I subscribe to the fact that the Achilles is a 2-year injury. If you don't necessarily subscribe to that, why do you think next year is going to be all of a sudden different than
honestly, I don't think it's going to be that much different. You guys know I've talked about Rodgers' struggles in championship games. He does now have potentially the best defense he's had in a long time, so that could help. I just think he's better than Russell Wilson. I do think, especially what we saw last year, he's better than Kirk Cousins. And I think he's their best option. I still maybe draft Jalen Milroe if he's there at 20. He probably will be at 21.
Yeah, he'll definitely do that.
And have Rodgers mentor him. It's a one-year thing. Let's go for it and see what happens.
Just to leave it here quickly, that's the other reason I like the other guys more. Because you won't go into the draft feeling like, oh, boy, are we going to piss them off by who we take?
Yeah, we literally, Kirk Cousins did that and was chill with it.
Right. And I think he was very.
You think Rodgers will be ticked off if they? I mean, nobody's expecting Jalen Milroe to play. Right away.
And Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart, like just non-Shador or Cam Ward quarterback. You know what I mean? Whoever that. I do not think Aaron Rodgers at age 41 is going to change who he's been. I do think he is a selfish football player. I do think he is from what we want from our quarterbacks as far as leadership goes, lacking. I do think he is somewhat petty and personal with guys and can ice guys out like we saw happen to poor Mike Williams because he ran a route 3 yards east of where he was supposed to.
Red line.
And he wasn't on the red line. And so I don't think it just wouldn't be worth it to me. I do think the Steelers are going to do it, and I do think he's going to make them wait, and I think he's going to make them wait a lot longer than this weekend.
Okay,
we'll see.
Head over to the NBA. Lakers were on a back-to-back, so they gave a lot of their starters a break, which led to Bronny James playing 30 minutes, where he went 7 for 10, 17 points, while adding 5 assists and 3 rebounds. Best game of his short career so far. Your reaction?
I'm really happy for him, and it feels like you and I talked in your office before the show. I don't even remember when it was, but it was in the last week or so, about how the discussion of Bronny has mostly kind of just, yada yada'd the cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And that was, listen, he has a congenital heart defect. It caused his heart to stop. They had to revive him on the court at USC, and it cost him his freshman year. I know he ended up playing. I wonder if the narrative around him actually would have been a little better if he didn't ever play that freshman year. Because I think people saw 4 points a game. You know what I mean?
He didn't play well.
Right. He flatly didn't. If it was just out with injury as opposed to back and then people kind of forgot about it. And so I do root for him because I think he's handled all of this really well. I also thought a lot of the I'm pleading with LeBron as a father to pull the plug on this farce was wildly unfair and sports-wise dishonest to what the 55th pick of the draft should be producing. Had the Lakers spent their first-round pick on him, then a lot of that conversation would have been, to me, really legitimate. But it was, so here is Bronny James amongst rookies. We can show you the numbers. Is he living up to his draft status? Minutes, exactly 55th. So that's even. Points, a touch ahead. Assists, a touch ahead. Those are basically all. If it was 1 or 2 more or less in any category, it would be, you know what I mean? It can change. Yeah. But the point is, he is literally giving you the exact production that you would hope the 55th pick would. And in the G League, where Brew and I both thought, man, early on he could really struggle, that's what he's done in the G League. He's not a superstar, and I don't think anyone ever thinks he's going to be a superstar, but I thought the conversation surrounding him, that treating him like it was charity and that he had no chance of ever living up to the huge shoes of the 55th pick of the draft was unfair, and I was really happy that last night he got that, and a couple nights ago he got real minutes in a game they almost won. He played okay against the Nuggets, not great, but that he can be an emergency piece, you know what I mean, in an NBA game.
Well, look, watching him last night, I see a lot to like. And I mean, obviously he had a great game last night, but looking at him last night versus early in the season, not just the first game, but you see major improvement.
Confidence-wise or skill-wise?
Well, both, but confidence for sure. Like, he was attacking the basket. His handle looks more sure. He's shooting with more confidence, both in the mid-range and from three. That's unusual because he hasn't played a lot in the NBA. So for a guy, it's one thing for a rookie that's been playing all year to gain confidence as the season goes on, and you say he's no longer a rookie at this point. He's still a rookie very much so, hadn't played a lot, and the growth is incredible, so that speaks to him having the work ethic of his father. Second thing, I'm glad you brought it up, the cardiac arrest. When I watch that game and I look at his performance in the G League, 20 points a game, that's nothing to sneeze at. You know what he says to me? That cardiac arrest hit him and affected him on the court more than we've all thought and talked about. Like, I honestly am chalking up his season at USC to the cardiac arrest. Because he wasn't at 4 points a game, didn't shoot it well. He'd be out there not having any impact. For him to come into the NBA,
he really struggled in Summer League right after that.
I mean, he's played much better in the G League and even the NBA than he did at USC. I remember watching him in high school, even as a freshman, with other kids on his team or on the court that were going to big-time college programs. And I remember thinking he could make it to the pros because he had LeBron's, not to LeBron's degree, but he had the basketball IQ. He didn't rush things. You know, he let the game come to him. He was clearly smart. And I thought he was different than most of the kids out there. So what I saw at USC last year, I was like, man, it doesn't look that good. And all I can say seeing him now is, man, it's understandable, but, the narrative hasn't been, oh, he played poorly because he was just coming back from this heart ailment. It was just that he's not that good.
Correct.
And I think really it is about that. And lastly, he's mentally tough.
Yes.
For him, right? Like,
that's what I wanted you to
all
get to.
that he's been through. One, I know a lot of kids whose dads played pro that, and it isn't a fault of the child's, but they just stopped playing at some point because you got to try to live up to your dad. So number one, just trying to get to the NBA, that shows mental toughness. But all the criticism that he has received, you mentioned 55th pick. How many 55th picks get this type of scrutiny? No, it's probably never happened. And so for him to have all of this scrutiny and be in the spotlight and be LeBron's son, it's mental toughness for him to go out there and not only perform, but to perform well and better than he has. He's scoring more now than he did even at times in high school.
Yes.
You know what I do think helps him? And it's hard when, we're in New York and we're not at the Crypto Center, Staples Center, and trying to take a temperature of what the vibe is around Bronny. And a lot of times we're consuming social media and online discourse. It feels like the online discourse about Bronny does not match up with the game experience.
No.
Even
not
on the
at all.
road,
Absolutely.
and Frank Isola mentioned this in the morning race, on the road, people are rooting for Bronny. And there is a loud minority of people who are rooting against him, and they'll get in the comments.
Right.
But in the building, and I think that is more indicative overall of NBA fans who are rooting for this guy, and it still speaks to his mental toughness. Yeah. But I think the media is looking at it through a different colored glasses of negativity.
So I think I disagree with you in one specific regard. I think there is some of the media that has created some of the negativity as an avenue to attack LeBron.
Sure.
And so I totally agree with the point that fans get excited in blowouts when he gets in the game. Like, it's because
he's not viewed like LeBron is a polarizing figure. I don't think Bronny is that much. I mean, obviously he's got his haters, but I don't think he's really polarized.
No, and I don't think the people in the media that have attacked him actually dislike him.
No.
And I think they've just...
How can you?
Right. I think that he has just almost been... And it's why, and I've said it, and we've talked about it, it's why in this entire kind of experience of Bron talking about his son and Bronny and then playing... I think Bron made one mistake, and it was the tweet 2 years ago. When he was like, I'm watching League Pass and it's low-key hilarious. And he didn't say Bronny's better than half these guys. He said Bronny's better than a bunch of these guys. That was a mistake because it put an extra target on Bronny's back and it made it fair.
I also thought that was super relatable. Every dad thinks that.
So somebody else made that point, which I forget who it was, said, man, like every sports parent thinks their kid should play more. Right, no. You're LeBron James.
My your son's actually going to get to the point.
Right, exactly. No, that's why I said it was a mistake. I agree with you, it was relatable, it was a mistake. But I think that adds, and again, I think we have done, not to pat ourselves on the back, I think we've done a really good job with this. None of us have acted like, oh, yeah, give him 3 years and the guy should be a starter for a great team. We've been honest about the fact that when you're 6'2", you usually have a ceiling in this league.
Unless you're a super freak athlete or a true point guard.
And so one thing that I think we've done a good job of being fair on this. But to add to your point about him dealing with things, there's the pressure of I'm the only second-round pick that gets talked about on these shows. Mm-hmm. My dad's LeBron. And then the added pressure in the moment of, oh, man, like the fans in Indiana during a blowout are chanting, we want Bronny. Yeah. Right. And now if I get out there, I gotta, you know what I mean? And so there's just a lot of stuff for a kid. And I think, you tweeted it out, I thought the Athletic article with Joe Varden was really good and people should read it. And Joe did a good job talking about how, like, he last talked to Bronny or first saw Bronny when Bronny was a little kid, playing with LeBron in Cleveland. It is a really cool story. And now that the Lakers are actually contenders and LeBron is playing really well and they because of injuries. They actually needed him in that Nuggets game, needed bodies. Like, that part is really cool.
Well, what I see, too, like, I think Bronny can become like a legitimately impactful player in the league. Not a star. I don't see star potential, but I think he can be a regular rotation guy, maybe even a starter, you know, in the league going, like, eventually. His size, because he's not like a true point guard, that
He's got to
is
get better from
challenging
three.
for him.
Like coming around that pick or whatever.
Yeah,
like
last night he was good, but yeah,
like
he's
that.
gotta-
Like he needs to just become a knockdown.
I think he'll
three-point
keep
shooter.
working on it.
Not this style of player at all, but as far as career trajectory, I feel like Steph's brother, Seth, is a legitimate, you know what I mean? He played for nearly a
nobody saw
decade.
Seth
Nobody said
having that
it
type
was
of
a
career.
G League guy, got better and better, undersized, and then created his niche. I think that's really on the board. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.